Live from a grungy kitchen table located in Annapolis, Maryland's scenic and historic capital, it's the Maryland Crabs Podcast. With each episode, your hosts, Tim Hamilton, John Fernay, and the occasional guest will dive in and pick apart the stuff that really matters most to you. We're too lazy to actually solve any of these problems, but we can definitely stir the pot. From schools, politics, parking in the fire lane, to those horrible people who drive BMWs. And here with this week's episode, live from the kitchen table, Tim Hamilton and John Fernay.
Well, hello there. This is John Fernay with the Maryland Crabs Podcast. I am flying solo this week because Tim is on the beach in Bora Bora, to be honest with you. He used to have a job. He threw his hands up in the air and said, screw it. I'm going to the South Pacific. So there you have it, folks. You're stuck with me. Hey, this week we've got a really exciting episode. This one is with one guy that I've wanted to meet for a long time. I've never had the opportunity, and I finally got it. I was able to go over to PRS Guitars over in Stevensville and actually sit down with Paul Reed Smith in his office. Actually, we got into it a little bit. It was kind of funny. One of the more fun interviews that I've had. I had a great time touring their factory, but what's really cool is Paul Reed Smith is coming to Annapolis at Maryland Hall for the Creative Arts later this summer with a master class series, which will be a week-long series for anybody that is serious about music. And you're going to have to listen to the full episode because there is a big surprise disclosed in there about a very famous drummer who will be working with everybody that takes the class. If you haven't gotten a chance to listen to a couple of the past episodes, two of the ones that I do recommend are the one with Satchel Kornfeld, who you probably don't know the name, and I would be surprised if you did, but he is a volunteer firefighter from Montgomery County. He works in the fire rescue industry, and he sat down with Tim and talked all about the fire service in Maryland, volunteer versus career and everything else. It was really actually a very fascinating conversation. Check that one out. And also, the last one that Tim and I did together was all about the Crownsville State Hospital and the movie Crownsville Hospital, From Lunacy to Legacy. A lot of fun, a lot of information about what went on up at Crownsville right here in our backyard. All right, well, let's get right into it. Let's go across the bridge over to Stevensville and PRS Guitars and talk to Paul Reed Smith. All right, we're over here in Stevensville with Paul Reed Smith of PRS Guitars. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you for inviting me. This is exciting. I've wanted to meet you for a long time, and now I finally get a chance to do it. I'm excited to take a little bit of a tour of the factory and see the magic that you make here.
So you put 330 people in a building, and there are difficulties, but one of the really nice things here is to get a tour. The tour is magic. The tour is always good because it's this big human machine with machines integrated in it to make guitars. It's almost like a real live Coswell Cogs, which was the whole Jetson thing where they put stuff in one end and out the other side came stuff.
It's pretty amazing. I'm really looking forward to it.
Enjoy it.
One of the things that you're doing, which is really exciting for the Annapolis area, and you did this with a show at Maryland Hall about 3 or 4 months ago. You offered an afternoon with a master class with yourself and the Grangers. And actually, I think you had more people involved there.
Yeah, me and Mike Alt and Bill Nelson, a bunch of us all taught.
And you're bringing this back, but sort of on steroids this summer, if I get it right. It's a week-long program?
Right, so Maryland Hall and us have been talking about doing this for over a decade, 15 years, since Laura was my sister, a long time ago.
Wow.
And we sent it out, and they didn't think they could handle the amount of people that would come, so they waved it off. And this time we said, let's just try it. And it went so well. Emily and the team there didn't even kind of ask us. They said, we're starting school. We're doing it. And we went, okay. And what I have to tell you for the first time is that now Dennis Chambers has decided to be the lead artist, doing 2 long master classes during this whole thing. He's the only drummer to ever be on the cover of Modern Drummer 7 times. Played in Santana, played in Parliament Funkadelic, played in Steely Dan, played all the. I mean, he's considered one of the greatest drummers to ever live, and he's coming to do the classes there. So that's good, and it's cheap. It's way less than $100 a day.
Right.
And you can get lunch if you want, and we're going to teach and teach and teach. And all these teachers have been circling doing this for a really long time, and we get to do this for a week at Maryland Hall. And the last day, we're going to let the kids play. Or May not even be kids. It goes from 13 to 100. So
okay, I'm kind of eyeing it up. I'm closer to the 100 side of that, but I'm kind of eyeing it up.
Yeah.
And this goes August 19th to the 24th, so it is a full week, and
then the Saturday.
Yeah, and it's pretty much 9 hours a day, or not a little bit less, but I mean it's an all day deal.
It's 9 to 4. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an all day deal. And is this for anybody?
Anybody.
So
as long as you're 12 or 13 and older, sure, we'll do it.
Musical talent required?
There is no audition. Although one day we may do that. Right now, it's no audition. We're going to teach music in 3 parts. We're going to teach rhythm, and we're going to teach harmony, and we're going to teach melody separately. So rhythm, right. There's no note. It's just a rhythm, right? And then you have melody, and the definition of a melody is a string of notes in a certain order and rhythm that sounds like one thing. Do 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 da 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 da. Which it sounds like one thing. A melody is one. It sounds like one thing. In do 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 do. Right. I mean, it sounds like one thing, right? So, and then harmony is more than 2 or more notes at the same time. And when you master all 3 of those and you learn how to put them together, you can play music. So if you know melody and rhythm, you play. If you know harmony and rhythm, you play. But if you know melody and harmony and you don't have rhythm, you don't play. And so we teach rhythm over and over and over and over and over again. And that's our way, and that's the way we these musicians want to teach, and we're going to go at it with everybody.
This is fantastic. What do you expect? Do you expect this to be a younger group, do you think, or don't you really know?
Well, the last time we had 3-to-1 guitar players sign up. But the thing that got Emily was watching the drum and bass clinic.
Okay.
And at the very, very end, this band of musicians is going to play, and one by one we're going to replace it with a young musician until there's no musicians left that from the original band, and it's all the young people sounding exactly the same as the old band. And that we did for the Anne Arundel County teachers over here at the Rams Head, and it was a hoot. It was just a hoot. And when they all the kids were playing, and there was not a older musician on the stage, the place erupted cheering.
It's sort of like probably like when my kid learned how to ride a bicycle. He's half a block down screaming, "Dad, don't let go, don't let go, don't let go." He looks around and goes like, "Oh, shit, I'm riding," and moves on.
But go there.
That's exceptional.
But we're planning on teaching music. And there's an honesty about it. If you don't really learn harmony, you don't really learn rhythm, and you don't really learn melody, you don't work. And so that's just the way it is. I know of some people that have signed up that are way north of 60, and I know a lot of people have been writing that are south of 12. So,
right.
We have to make sure that they're there to learn.
Well, that's the nice thing, that talent knows no age.
All right, go there.
I mean,
this is a dream come true, and the fact that you're asking us about the school is remarkable. The fact that Maryland Hall wants to do it's remarkable.
Maryland Hall is and I don't know whether you still live over on the Western Shore, or whether you're out here on the Eastern Shore now, but Maryland Hall is just really such a gem for Annapolis. It's
complete gem.
Between the symphony and the opera and everything else that they've got there, the concerts, the rock shows, if you will, the classes and everything else, is just phenomenal. The people that put that together.
It's a gem for Maryland. It's great. And the fact that they want to do it's great. But Emily was watching us like hawks and visiting all the rooms where we were teaching, and she's just like, we're doing this.
Yes.
It was great.
Well, let me talk a little bit about you. PRS got its start back in 1985, right? Is that right?
Yeah, the company as you know it, the limited partnership was started at that time. The only way a long-haired hippie can raise $500,000 if the bank's not going to give them the money, which they're not,
right, is
to start it the way a movie starts, called limited partnership. A lot of real estate deals are done that way.
But now, how did you get your start in guitar making? Lutherian. How do you?
Well, I had a card that said Paul Reed Smith Luthier, and I got a check made at the Paul Luthier from Peter Frampton. I thought that was it. I begged the woman at the bank to cash it. She did. But people thought a luthier was an archtop maker, and I just saw it as a guitar making term, right? And I immediately changed my card to fine handmade guitars. But It's an art form, making guitars. It's an art form, and I started doing repair work and making guitars in Annapolis at 33 West Street, and I had made a few guitars, one guitar at college, and made a bunch of guitars in my bedroom in Bowie, and moved to Annapolis as fast as I can and opened up a shop. So and I just called it Guitar Shop. It said Guitar Shop on the little thing at 33 West
Plain
Street.
simple, tells you what you do?
Yeah.
Was your start as a musician or as a woodworker?
If I opened a case at Washington Music Center that I have a guitar I made, it drew a crowd. If I played, it was like driving everybody away. I had to pay attention to the feedback of the world and go after the guitar making.
Right.
And it broke my heart when we started the company. They said, you're not going to ever be able to play music again. You're going to have to dedicate 100% of your time to guitar making and running this company. And I accepted it. I cried, but I accepted it. And all weird things, I've been able to play music again, which it warms my heart.
And that was just the reality at the time?
Reality in 1884 is if I was going to get the help of all these people, I was going to give up playing, yeah.
Wow. But that didn't last for very long.
It lasted a decade.
Well, a decade. Well, you started back up with the Paul Reed Smith and the Dragons?
It was the Dragons,
was it?
Ralph Perucci
and that was
Ralph, yeah.
And now you're out pretty much. I want to say touring, but I mean obviously you've got a business.
We play at Maryland Hall to a fairly packed house.
Yep.
Maryland Hall accepted us. That's how it all happened. And we did the master classes at Maryland Hall as a way of promoting ticket sales for the band, but we didn't know that this school was going to come out of it. We didn't know that this proposal that we had made 15 years ago was going to get tackled.
Things move slow in Annapolis.
No. I don't believe that.
I was just reading an article from 1969 talking about running shuttles in Annapolis to move people as opposed to buses, and the council had to put it out to a study. It never came back, so it's we're looking.
I'll tell you a story I've never told anybody. There was a book that was made in Annapolis, 1978, 79, of all the artists in Annapolis, and I wasn't included. And I was like, I shook my head. Really? You'll have to be a painter or a sculptor or something else to be an artist. A guitar maker wasn't an artist. I saw it as an art form, but I wasn't included in the club, which I thought was a little disappointing. Look, this fireman in this county came to me and said that when the animals are out of the house, people are screaming for their PRSs. And I felt better that people were considering those guitars their heirlooms. So it was fine with me. But I felt like we were doing a better job that day. Yeah, I mean, if you're not screaming for the photographs and you're screaming for the guitars, we did something right.
True. Well, you've always heard the rumor, and I don't know whether it's true. I'll go to the horse's mouth here. Your first guitar, and Santana is one of your artists that plays with your guitars. And I had always heard that that you were trying to get somebody to try your guitars. And it was sort of out in the alley behind the D.C., I guess it was the Verizon Center, what's Verizon Center now or something like that. And you handed it to him and hoped for the best. Is that any truth to that?
Kind of. Not exactly how it went. So the way it went was I was out back at the Capitol Center, which was a huge arena across the Beltway from where the Redskins play. And I was there when the semis pulled up. And the guy got out of the truck, and I just put the case down and opened it. Didn't say a word. He looks at the case, looks at me, looks at the case. And he walked up into the cab of his semi and pulled out a stage pass the night before and slammed it on me. And I walked in, and I waited all day long and showed it to the tech. And finally Carlos walks in. And he goes, "It looks like a piece of candy." It was red.
Okay.
He played it, and then he looks at me at one point. He goes, "Do you play?" And I wouldn't answer. He goes, and he looks at the guitar. He plays it. He says, "You play. Let's play." Scared the shit out of me. And I had to play with him, and that didn't go well. And he said, "I forgive you." Basically, he put his arm around me, took me up on the stage, and we danced to "Return of Forever," who were open up for him. Stanley Clarke and Lenny White and Al Di Meola and Chick Corea. It's unbelievable. And then they played, and they were unbelievable. And didn't sell a guitar that night, but it did sell one to Al Di Meola. Sold him a 12-string that night.
Wow.
And a couple of years later, Carlos came to Merriweather, and I said, "Can you take the guitar to the dressing room. He says, "You think I'm going to steal it, are you?" I said, "No, it's only, don't, no." And then about a minute and a half later, a guy walks out, goes like this, waves me to come in, and Carlos is in there, and there's a picture of Jesus, and there's incense, and he is playing like unbelievably good guitar through a little pig nose, and every note fed back. A pig nose doesn't do that, so it must have been modified. Okay. I have no idea. But he's sitting there playing, and he's going nuts, and he really, really liked the guitar, and he ordered one. Then he says, "But I want to play this guitar tonight." So I went, and he played the guitar that night, and he waved it off within 30 seconds of putting it on, and he said, "Deal's off." And I begged him and begged him and begged him. Now, I had his phone number and his address in my pocket, and he wanted it back.
Well,
so I ended up shipping him a guitar, and he loved it, and I ended up getting an order, and then another order, and then another order, and when we made the double neck, he called me up. He says, "Oh, you're a guitar maker." He made me earn his respect. He didn't give it. And and he was extraordinary. I mean, this musician was playing at the highest level you could possibly imagine at the time. It was like go and watch a prize fighter.
Oh, without a doubt. And this was back in...
That was when Z-Bop came out, 1980, 1979.
79, 80. So you weren't...
Extraordinary band, extraordinary music. They still is extraordinary.
So you weren't established as as PRS as we know it today?
No. The reason we put PRS on there was so if the investors sued me, I could keep my company.
How many guitars do you put out in a month?
93 a day.
93 a day?
And 1,800 worldwide of the SEs, so that's a month. So you're talking, over 200 guitars a day.
What's your role here today?
Talking to you.
But
come on, that's not a fair question.
Well, no. Obviously,
I was involved in R&D today.
No. I mean,
hang on a minute. Let's just look and see what's on my desk. Hold on. We went over pickup specs today. We're talking about Maryland Hall stuff. I was a Guitar Center phone call that just happened. The entire product line for October. It just goes on and on and on. And this is the truncated list.
But I mean, are you designing?
Fox News is coming on Wednesday. We got all kinds of things going on. I'm up to my eyeballs in all parts of it.
It's okay. Fair enough. I mean, so are you actually still designing?
What part of the podcast do you do?
Yeah?
You give me a break.
That's true. Okay. Fair enough. All right. I love this. I'm loving this right now.
You're asking me if I've been put out to pasture yet. That's what you're asking.
No,
that's
it's not.
Exactly
Absolutely
what you're
not.
We're pointing at each
it
other.
was wondering
you
whether
guys
your role had changed.
On.
I mean, you said when you started the company that you had, they said you were going to have to give up the plane, which you haven't.
Oh, no.
And you brought that back.
But I have a love for really good sounding gear. A love for it. So whether it be amplifiers that we make or guitars that we make or whatever it is, I got a magic piece of gear today, which just has me excited. I've been coveting this thing for 5 years, and the guy finally agreed to trade me for it.
And Christmas comes the day after Easter, right?
Christmas comes the day after Easter. You want to see it? I can show it to you.
Sure. What is it?
And I heard this thing 5 years ago, and I have been begging the guy for it ever since. And he traded me an old mic for it. This is, I can't tell you how many great vocals are done on this style of mic.
No, where did that come from?
I'd rather not say. I traded somebody that's way up on our industry for it. He didn't really want it.
5 years waiting.
5 years I've been bugging him about it.
Congratulations.
What happened was we were recording acoustic guitars for a video, and we went through every mic that the store had, and none of them were up to the caliber I wanted. They said, there's one in his office, and I went and got that. It sounded perfect, and that was the day I decided I want.
That's the one you want.
Can I get it out of his dead hands?
Well, it's funny that
Here's a piece of wood from Puerto Rico, from the hurricane. I'm sorry, I like the gear. It's the beginning of a piece of gear.
Wow.
I like things that make music. This microphone is doing its job. It's recording your voice and my voice, and the recorder's doing it, and it doesn't sound staticky or weird. And it's just a good. It's a good device. It does its job. I like devices that do this job.
You talked about your passion, and I want to talk a little bit about the Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center.
I thought we were going to go with my kids, my wife, the employees here. What? and you're going to go to Sidney Kimmel. I like that place too. We raised a lot of money for him.
You have, and that's the thing that's amazing. You put on an annual thing. It's one cause, one band, one night.
Yeah.
Did I get the order right?
Yeah, but it's we, not me.
Okay.
It's a pile of us that do it.
Sure.
Hopkins is unbelievably passionate about doing that thing. And the fact that John Mayer played last year and Carlos played a couple years ago and 2 years ago Paul Rogers played and the Doobie Brothers played.
You had Journey, you've had Trucks. I mean, you've had a who's who up there. And typically it's at the Model. Is it always at the Model?
Not always, but it's been there. They're talking about even doing something different this year. It's going to be shifting around.
Where's the passion for that come from for you? Is there?
Have you ever anybody in your life die of cancer?
Okay.
Have you?
No.
It's not fun.
No, I'm sure.
It just rips somebody right out of your life. Yeah. I lost my brother not too long ago, but it's always been that way. My father loved Hopkins. For whatever reason, he thought it was and maybe rightfully so, was the White Castle on the hill that knew what they were doing. He loved that place. And so for him, it was Hopkins. And when we gave some guitars to Children's Oncology for an auction one year. And we got back a message the day after the auction, the most spirited auction of the night with the PRSs. And I was like, what's that about? And I didn't understand. They were seconds for us. They had little finish imperfections that we couldn't sell, but they went for auction really high. And they called me and said, let's do a golf tournament. I said, that's not going to work. PRS and golf do not mix. And they went, no, it will. I said, no. And they said, yeah, it will. I said, all right, tell you what. If I can fish every hole, the ponds, and not golf, and thank all the people that did it, I'll do it. They said, okay, so I get to go play. When we go to these really high-end golf places, I got a fishing rod. I'm catching fish. I almost got hit by a ball last year.
That's fantastic. Well, what about your other passions? What about your wife and your kids? You started it.
Yeah, well, let me tell you something. Family's important to me. Always has been.
Yeah.
And we work really hard all year to give people a piece of the rock here. We're on a kind of a nondescript but very clear profit-sharing plan here. And so Jean, who's here in the room with us, she got a nice check this year. We all, it was nice. For me, that's taking care of the people that take care of us. For me, that's a big deal. Me, I'm driving all year to make sure that Christmas is a happy time at home or Hanukkah's a happy time at home. I don't want it to go home and, look, they gave me a frozen chicken. That's not an okay thing. Although we had a few years after 2008, people didn't even get a chicken. So, look, my wife, Paige, she used to be given a frozen turkey and she had to take it home on the subway. She had to hold an ice cube in a frozen turkey is a big ice cube, right? Yeah. And it was in a plastic bag. She had to hold it on the subway. It just sounds awful. That was completely inexcusable. It happened here. At one point, they were mailing a box of chocolate chip cookies to people for their birthday. And by the time you add it all up, the entire thing cost $38. I was like, we sent everybody a $50 bill for their birthday now. Everybody gets a $50 bill, except me. I don't get a $50 bill, but everybody else, you get a $50 bill on your birthday, right? Yeah. So those are kinds of things. Now, I'm bringing little teeny things up because in the end, it's more complicated than that, but I like trying to take care of the whole.
Well, in the end, it's, you've got the vision, but there's a huge team that supports you, and whether that be here in this building or whether it be at home or
Hopkins or wherever.
Wherever it is that does it there. Who's playing at your One Cause this year? Do you know yet?
I have an idea. I can't tell you because they haven't agreed yet, but we're asking.
Okay.
It's musical royalty.
Okay. And when is that going to be?
Carlos is musical royalty.
Oh, yeah.
John Mayer's becoming musical royalty.
Yeah.
I mean, Doobie Brothers and all these bands are musical royalty. There's another musical royalty that's getting asked.
When's that going to be again?
This is always in the fall. It's always in October. I mean, look, touring schedules are so complicated. If it had to be the beginning of November or the end of September, we'd do it, but that month is put aside.
Right. Well, I'm not going to take much more of your time, but I am excited about this music masterclass at Maryland Hall. I think this is
Are you going to do it?
You know, that whole rhythm thing has got me going, man. You've never seen me dance, so this I've got a little bit of a problem, but I would love to.
It's not about getting you to dance. It's about
being able to get the.
Doesn't speed up, doesn't slow down. I mean, be able to just do that. I was taught by the best. Oh my God, these guys pounded it into me. I couldn't do that when I was 18.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't Russian or Dragon, was it? Yeah.
I would seriously consider it. I mean, I was telling Jeannie on the way up,
you'll have a good time.
I kicked my mom in the butt because she never forced me to do piano or trumpet or just some kind of instrument.
Really? You're going to be mad at your mom for not being brutal? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, in hindsight, I mean, you know, as a 13 or 12-year-old, I mean, I certainly didn't want to do that, but now as I look back on it, I go, wow, you know, I really wish that she had done something like that. So August 19th to the 24th, I would turn around and take a look at marylandhall.org and find out about the class, sign up. It will go fairly quickly. And again, you've got Greg Granger, yourself, Paul Reed-Smith, and Gary Granger, right? That are going to be
Dennis
doing, and then Dennis,
Michael Alt, and Mia, and we've got another 8 very, very gifted teachers lined up. And as enrollment goes up,
How big is the class going to be? How many people do we know?
No more than 35 people ever.
Okay.
Except when Dennis is there.
Okay.
And that'll be everybody. Have you ever seen him play?
No.
It's extraordinary. It's not of the weak-hearted. It's beautiful. He plays brilliantly. He got offered James Brown gig. I think when he was 13, his mother wouldn't let him go. That's how good he is.
You know, when you do see it, you know it, and you're right. It's magic.
If you come, you'll get to enjoy that. But also, there's going to be a lot of teaching. When I haven't told anybody this, but I'm going to ask Dennis to start off very simplistically, and by the time at the end of the hour and 20 minutes, I want him to be so over everybody's head. You just got a taste of what magic is, but I want him to start real simple.
Right, absolutely.
All right.
That's the tone. We got to get out of here. We're going to get a tour.
That's my phone going off.
Paul Reed-Smith, thank you very much. I appreciate it. This has been fun. We
almost started hitting each other. I like it. Well done.
Thanks.
And that was Paul Reed-Smith of PRS Guitars. I'm really tempted to jump in on this masterclass. My only hesitation is that I have zero rhythm. And he was flat out said, if you don't got rhythm, you ain't going to play music. I don't know. I've got to think about this a little bit more. All right, that is going to wrap it up for us this week. Please make sure you're following us on the places that you need to follow us. Twitter, that would be MD Crabs Podcast. You can check out our website at themarylandcrabs.com. And, of course, on Facebook at the Maryland Crabs Podcast as well. You can always email us at info@themarylandcrabs.com. Love to hear your suggestions, your criticisms, and complaints. And if you're someplace where you can give us a rating or a review, please do that. It will stop Tim from whining about the lack of ratings and reviews. And also, if you are not familiar with the Ion Annapolis Daily News Brief and you're interested in local news, we do produce a daily podcast at 7 a.m. every Monday through Friday. And it's usually anywhere between like 9 and 15 minutes long. It has all the top news stories. It has locally forecasted weather, opinion, and all sorts of other stuff. You want to check that out. And also what we did is we started a new series that releases every Saturday at noon. And the first episode dropped on the 27th of April, but it will be every Saturday. And it is our Legacy Business series. What we do is we go to businesses that are all around Anne Arundel County and Annapolis that have been here for a long time and talk to them about their business, how it started, how they got where they are, what the future looks like. And it really gives you an insight to some of the old, staid businesses in town. I do intend to carry this for at least a year, if not 2 years, and we've got a whole bunch of them already pre-recorded. The ones that are out there right now are the Summit School, which is celebrating 30 years, and the Schooner Woodwind, which just celebrated 25 years. And coming up in the next few weeks, we've got Third Eye Comics and Third Eye Games and Hobbies, K&B True Value Hardware, the Cyphers Agency, Annapolis Yacht Sales, Prop Talk Spin Sheet, Main and Market, Zachary's Jewelers, Annapolis Marine Art, and a whole bunch others. All right, that will do it for this week. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time.
This has been the Maryland Crabs Podcast with Tim Hamilton and John Fernay. Sure to follow them at all the regular places, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and online at themarylandcrabs.com. Take a moment to rate us on iTunes. Now, get the hell out of my kitchen. Seriously, go!
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.